All right. Welcome, everybody. David Bianco here at the Safe and Sound Texas Audio Excursion with my guest, Vinyl Rush Brad, or Brad Vinyl Rush, whichever way you want to call him.
Whatever.
And Scott from Press Matters. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining.
A pleasure, as always.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice to see you all again.
Yep.
So we're all in our home domiciles, Brad and I in Texas and Scott in Florida. So this particular shootout is precipitated by the release of the Yes album through the Atlantic 75th series, and particularly the release through Analogue Productions, which is a 2LP 45 RPM by, in fact, Kevin Gray. We got Concert Buddy with us. How you doing, bud?
You'll be entertained.
Yeah, well,
are you not entertained?
don't expect any song and dance. That's for
no.
So, so we went through this process independently, more or less, although Brad and I actually ended up doing some of our listening together because my particular shipment was delayed because I was moving. Somebody's got their sound on. Let's see who it is. Is it me? No, it's not me.
Let me make sure I got YouTube closed or whatever. Hold on.
At least muted, if not closed.
How can
Hey,
I
Nick Fantasy, good to see you, buddy. How are you? So, so basically, I had to wait on mine. So Brad had brought his, and he brought the UK Plum and Bernie Grunman over, and we played it in my new room, which I'm still developing more or less, but I'm surrounded by records, of course, as usual. And then Brad sent off to Scott the Bernie Grunman and the Plum as well that he and I had shot out, and then Scott had ordered his own version of the Analogue Productions as well. Hello, Jerry. Good to see you. So, so that's how we did it. So Brad and I kind of know where we're at because we did it together. So we're going to start with Scott. We're going to bring our guest in first and let him tell us what his impressions were. As always, Scott, thanks for taking the time to do this and being part of the team.
Yeah, I was just thinking it might be good just to remind folks what the original result was and kind of how we did it.
Okay.
So, you know, if
go ahead, because you had the primary on it.
Yes, yeah. So if folks remember when we did sort of the Yes trifecta, if you will, we divided it up. I had the Yes album, David had Close to the Edge, and Scott did Fragile. And we shot those out individually. We had our live stream and we, you know, basically presented the results for each. So, but we promised that when the Atlantic 75s came out that we would shoot that out versus the winner of the respective albums, but this time we would do them each one independently. So hence that's why we were sharing records and sending them around so that we could sort of compare the winners if we didn't have those. So as a reminder, I did the Yes album in this case, and it was sort of a mixed bag in terms of what the winner was. It really, it was kind of a, not really a tie, but really sort of a preference thing between the UK Plum original and the 2023 Bernie Grunman cut. And so the UK Plum, and you may remember we kind of did this independently with my wife and my kids blinded to the process, which one they were listening to. And my wife and I preferred the UK Plum just for the energy, and the bass was much stronger. But my kids preferred the Bernie Grunman 2023, kind of a more balanced presentation, maybe a little bit tamer. Could be because their ears are younger, and maybe, you know, maybe that UK Plum for them was just a little too hot. Not sure there, but it makes sense. So just a quick reminder of kind of where we landed. So basically, this wasn't a 1-to-1 comparison of the Atlantic 75. It was sort of a 2-to-1, if you will, comparing those two, quote, winners versus the new Atlantic 75. So that brings us to today. And we'll let Scott start with that preamble out of the way.
All right. So I had the two that Brad sent me. So his UK plum, and I had another plum that my friend John sent me. John's was cleaned on the degritter. The degritter went back to its owner before Brad's records arrived, so I didn't get to clean his plum. But I checked the dead wax, and they are the same. They sound the same as well. I also had this one. This was in my collection. This is a 1977 Specialty Records pressing. It is not George Piros cut. I have examined the dead wax. It seems to be an E and an L, or an E and an I. It's really scribbled. It's hard to decipher. And I looked on Discogs. I couldn't find that much to nail it down yet. But it's very clean, near mint. I bought it 10 years ago, 10 or 15 years ago. And I hadn't really heard it on this system. So I remembered once I played it, why I left it on the shelf pretty much for 10 years. It's extremely bright. I like certain aspects of it. It is very clear. It's very immediate. It has a nice presence to it, good transparency and separation, but it's a bass light presentation. The top end can get a little bit annoying, especially if you turn it up. It's somewhat threadbare on the vocals. And when there's group vocals, it can get a little beamy or shouty sounding. There isn't much going on down below, so organ and bass don't really come across that well. Where it's focused, it's very good, but it's just too tipped up and not enough bass on this pressing. I think one could do better. The UK plum, you know, here in America, these are rare. They have kind of a mystique about them. You know, first pressing, country of origin, and all that. Honestly, listening to these two UK plums, I think that they're overrated. I don't think they're anything special, honestly. It was less bright than the 1977 pressing for sure. That was good. It did have a deeper bass response as well. But it has a coarse texture about it, a graininess, sometimes aggressive quality that definitely rules it out for me. I can see why Brad's kids were turned off to it. It just doesn't have much refinement. It's very aggressive, and maybe these pressings aren't perfect, and that may be why it sounds a little grainy and distorted. But to me, there was distortion all over this record, and I didn't care for the UK plums whatsoever. For Bernie Grunman, this is from the breakout of the box set. It's not available individually. I guess you can get it now for about $70 for the box. It's been discounted. Personally, it was nice to hear a clean pressing after those other two. It's not quite as bright as the 1977, but it does still have some brightness to it. It has a quickness and good transient energy to it, but it's a bit polite overall. It doesn't really reach down like the Plum label does as far as the bass. And overall, I was pretty unimpressed with it. The musical message didn't really come across to me like I thought it should. Technically, all the aspects of the sound are there, but for some reason, he just didn't draw out the perfect Yes album, I don't think. It's a good mastering, it's competent, but I felt like these three were lacking in some ways, and I was crossing my fingers that this Kevin Gray mastering would do the trick. the Analogue Productions 45, Chad Kassem and Kevin Gray, they must have went to great lengths with this. I can imagine the lacquers going back and forth, because they have totally transformed this album. It was a revelation to hear it this way. I never thought I would hear it this good. Starting at the top end, instead of that glare and that hash and that brightness and a million things to criticize on the top end, this is clear as water, beautiful, extended, but not drawing attention to itself, not glary, not bright at all, just lovely. Right there, the record was a winner for me over all the other pressings. The vocal quality on this is astounding. It's amazing. On all the earlier pressings, John Anderson has an edge on him, a glare on him. Layered vocals sound confused. This is pulled apart just gently enough that you hear every nuance of the layered vocals. You hear when there's another vocalist in there. It's amazing. John sounds fantastic. The way he's set in space as well, with air around him. And you don't really get that on any other pressing, not even Bernie Grunman's. The mid-range has magic galore, nuance galore. In the mid-range, everything that falls in there sounds more natural with less distortion. And I have to stress that. This has less distortion overall, because I assume the 45 format has given some of these longer songs, 10-minute songs there on side, it just opens up and relaxes. It breathes. And that is what's amazing about this. Things like acoustic guitars on the other pressings. For instance, on the clap. The clap is a live recording. And on all the earlier pressings, it is annoying to listen to, no question. I can't wait to take it off, because the acoustic guitars sound so tipped up with no body, no harmonics. It's just nasty sounding. Here it sounds like an audiophile recording. It sounds like you would expect an acoustic guitar being played right in front of you live to sound. The clap I listened to all the way through and I loved it. It was beautiful. The acoustic guitars sprinkled throughout the album all share the same trait. They have body, they have warmth and richness. They still have detail. It's gorgeous. Electric guitar and drums sound better than they ever have. The drums just explode out of the speakers. It's finally coming to life, where these had a quick energy and life to them, but they don't sound as dimensional as they do on here. Organ and bass. The organ is really interesting on this. The organ is used sparingly, I would say. And when it's used very effectively. It has the proper weight here. And you'll notice it immediately on the first track, the end of the first track with that frequency sweep at the end of Yours Is No Disgrace. It starts out so low on that organ and it just sweeps up to infinity. It's so clear on every other earlier pressing, not so much the Grunman, but the earlier pressings. I think the turntables of the day couldn't handle it and probably just rattled the groove, so it's damaged. It always sounds like grainy on all those other pressings. Here on our systems of today, we can track this and it just sounds like amazing, amazing. There's one highlight that I want to talk about before I forget about it. It's also on the same, is it on this track? No, it's on Starship Trooper. The end of Starship Trooper, the finale, Worm. Oh my God. I heard it on all the other pressings. It's an effective moment for sure. But on this, oh my God. When that organ dropped down and that searing guitar solo came, it gave me chills everywhere. I was like, and it happened every time I played it. No, it was like no contest. No contest. This is like a weak representation of that moment. Here, it's revealed in all its glory. I could go on, but the point is, the Atlantic 75 has revealed this record in a way that I never thought possible. And Kevin and Chad have done the vinyl community a great service by providing this particular pressing. I don't think there is anything that sounds as good. I don't think a George Piros could sound this good. It's just so much fun to listen to. The musical appreciation for the whole record has increased dramatically. I love every second of it, and I can sit and listen to it, and I don't have to think about anything to criticize. It's just that good.
Wow.
Yeah.
He liked it, ladies and gentlemen.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. Well, great, Scott. And I know you're going to be releasing a video in a few days with a more in-depth view of it by song and details with your great linguistic capabilities to give those oohs and ahs. But well, that's a good progression there to show from the US to the UK to it. That's really solid. These series, and when I listen to you and I think about it, I start to remember what I felt when I did the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. When I listened to that on the AP, how it solved so many issues that were there with the other versions I had heard. It's like, I mean, I don't know their way to put it. It's solved it. I mean, you talked about things lacking and missing, and they all kind of came together. And then, like that nuance you added about the end with the organ, the way, I mean, I got a relatively small room, and Brad will tell you, but man, it was like you were immersed in that thing. That note just held so hard and so low, and just when you compared them, and that's the thing, and I'll let Brad speak to this because I'm used to the AB thing, because I do it, but Brad isn't. He has. So why don't you go ahead, Brad, and talk about what your reflections are having listened to it.
Yeah. I think Scott, you nailed it. Honestly, I had really a similar experience with it. Thinking back on it and thinking about the things that I liked and disliked about the UK Plum and the Bernie Grundman is basically exactly what you said. I mean, we liked the UK Plum for the energy and the power and the bass, but yeah, I mean, we heard the same thing as far as the distortion is concerned. It's like, whoa, wow, that's hot, and like I mentioned earlier, I think that's probably why the kids, I mean, their ears are younger than ours and they can hear higher. So they probably heard that way worse than we could, and and the Bernie Grundman, it was, it's a nice presentation, but it's just tame. Like you said, it's just it kind of took all the energy out of it. And that's why my wife and I didn't like it that much. I think somebody just put up a good point there. That's the one X factor is none of us had the Friday Music double 45, which would be interesting because it'd be 45 against 45. So that's a great point. But I honestly, I can't imagine anything beating this Atlantic 75. I mean, I'll tell you, I remember when I was playing Starship Troopers, and there's that sort of that vocal interlude there, where they really harmonize. And honestly, it gave me goosebumps because you could hear, because they kind of, the way they sing that, they they kind of come in one at a time and they kind of overlay those vocals and harmonize, and you could hear the individual voices there. And it was just stunning, and it was so clear and crisp and nice. I had the same thought, honestly, David, about this one. It sort of the analogy to the Crosby, Stills, Nash Couch album, you know, kind of comparing that. Is this one fixed everything, all of the issues with some of the previous iterations or pressings of this album. This fixed everything. Honestly, I couldn't imagine listening to another copy now. This to me is definitive. I mean, it's the GOAT. It's whatever you want to call it. I just can't imagine it sounding any better than this particular pressing. And I think, you know, when you think about it, you know, how old are these tapes? You know, they had to go back, and for them to coax this out of those tapes is amazing. I would love to hear, you know, obviously the tapes were in great shape. You know, we wouldn't have gotten to what we got out of it, you know, but I guess it speaks to a couple of things, right? The importance of caretaking these tapes and preserving them correctly, but also putting them in the right hands, people that know how to deal with these things and know how to bring every last ounce of sound out of those tapes, despite the age that they are. I just think what an awesome time to be a vinyl junkie. To have access to these wonderful pressings of these records is just, it's awesome. It's just musical ear candy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I had some words to put to it. These were some of the words that I wrote down in my mind as I was listening to this and comparing the two. And as good as we think what we have sounds, and I saw a comment earlier from Rice Fields about the Atlantic being great, and I think in their own contexts they are. But honestly, until you can do this, you don't. It's like a great meal, and something is one-upping it, and you don't know it tastes better until you can do the comparison. And when you can do it back to back to back, right then and there, you certainly get that instantaneous feedback of it, and the ability to, time it off 3 to 5 seconds off. So you hear exactly what you just heard and compare it. It becomes greatly obvious, what in fact, is going on. And so, for me, it changed the whole experience of the album in a lot of ways. It not only told me sonically what they were able to do, but it told me some things about what the band was able to do as artists. Yeah. And I think that's what really, to me, is even more exciting than the technology side, is that they, back in that day, had that capability, and it was in there, but it didn't come out. And it was like I've said before, my thing about Hotel California, I always knew there had to be a lot more in the tapes than there was, because it just always sounded flat to me until I heard the one step of it. So, to me, close to the edge. I can't wait to hear that as well.
Same here.
Yeah, I mean, it just really, as you said, Brad, it brings out the fact that, here we are, and we can get this kind of quality. And luckily, this album splits up pretty good side to side to side, because as you know, these 2x45 sometimes can be an issue in terms of how they break up. And so in this particular case, that worked out. It wasn't a problem. And let me show you what that is to show the breakout here of how that record is broken out by time. Here we go. And here we go. So there's the way it's split up. So you've got, a whole side of Yours Is No Disgrace, and you've got Clap on the outer band of side 2. So it's, the best it can be out there, instead of, and Starship Trooper, of course. So you've got a really good time balance across this record as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's hard to say a whole lot more, honestly. I mean, to me, the real substance of it is everything was there, but nothing got in the way of anything else. The vocals didn't get in the way of the bass, and the bass didn't get in the way of the drums, and the drums didn't get in the way of the organ, and the organ did. None of them. They were very distinct.
Yeah.
And they weren't muddy, and they weren't harsh. They were just like, lavishly oriented in a really good mix. And I think I appreciated the mix of the record through this version more, because there were areas where I thought the mix was potentially problematic, having heard it all these years.
Yeah.
So, it's just an interesting convergence of, quality and autonomy of sound. And to me, there was nothing too aggressive. Everything was right where it should be. So I don't know. It just, as I said earlier, to me, these series have some more than others, but really resolve some issues. And some are issues we didn't really know we even had, to be honest with you.
It's true. You made such a good point earlier, David, about you don't know how good it can be until you experience something better. And I mean, the first time I listened to it, my son and I were here, and we listened to it versus the George Piros, because I didn't have the UK Plum and the Bernie Grundman, because I'd sent them on to Scott. But and it was doing it the way I have to do it, which is play a section, take it off, put another one on, and do it that way. And I mean, it was shocking, the difference. But then when I was at your house and you could do that A-B, like you said, within 3 to 5 seconds, then it's really shocking, because it's like, man, did you take blankets off the speakers or something, or what did you do? I mean, it was stunning, the difference, yeah.
I was able to make high resolution files for one cut on the album with all but the Bernie Grundman pressing. So when I release the video, you'll hear, what is it? I've Seen All Good People on the UK, the Bernie Grundman in this. And it's exactly, I've listened to the files. They are exactly what I heard. This is the first time the files have been done on my system. So yeah, that'll be an interesting addition too, because I can't do A-B like that. I have to rely on my musical memory to kind of play a section, like you said, or one cut, and then go back and forth. But this was so obvious. It was just not even difficult to do.
Yeah.
The other pressings were just not always something to criticize, and not a relaxing listen. This was like unbelievable.
Yeah.
You wanted to listen to more, and you just, it's almost, it's hard to. And the thing I want to mention is, there is, and I see this in some reviewers, that there seems to be a bias one way or another. In other words, I think we all have biases, but I think sometimes people always go, let's say, to the country of origin or whatever, just because it's comfortable, or because that proves the point, or whatever it is. And you got to let your ears do the talking for you here. You've got to really, try to be objective. I'm working on the Black Sabbath hi-fi one against some that were sent to me, the UK and the US OGs, to compare. And I mean, that I don't know that album very well, so it's going to be really easy for me to not have a dog in the hunt. But it really does boil down to, that has to be the way you judge it. And that's, some people say blind testing, of course, is ideal. And the ability that Brad and I were Brad was switching for me, which, and I didn't know which one he was switching even. So we did a bit of a pseudo on that as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a place for blind listening, but personally, in my opinion, I just want to hear the best sounding record, and I found it with this. You know, even if I had investment in a UK Plum or Black Sabbath Vertigo, I still would name whatever sounded best to me. It doesn't matter to me that it's the Holy Grail pressing or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Or you spend 3 times as much for it.
Yeah. I mean, I've criticized $150 records that I just bought, you know, and it's the way it is.
Yeah.
Why, you know, that's one thing I don't like is some people get on a bent and they cheerlead for certain things, and they might be OGs or they might be the Rhino High Fidelities, and everyone is great. You know, I don't see it that way. It's case by case basis. Same with MoFi, a very divisive company. I love some of their stuff. I love it. And it's won many shootouts in those Rhino hi-fis. And then I hate other ones from them too. You know, I just don't like them. So I don't have any bias as far as label or mastering engineer. Sometimes it's a little hard to criticize a mastering engineer, you know, because you respect them. And I respect Kevin Gray greatly. But I kind of had to call it how I saw it with the Rhinos. I just didn't feel like it was aimed at me, I would say, you know. So,
yeah. Well,
you know, I always feel bad. I feel like, oh my God, I'm going to hurt Kevin Gray's feelings. I don't think he cares, right? But
He's a big boy.
or Chad, you know, no one wants to hurt Chad's feelings. He's done so much for us, you know.
Right.
And thank God I have never had to say anything about Chad, because I am a big fan of AP.
Well, you're not alone, Scott. I mean, honestly, the captain in me is a good example.
Yeah.
Did not like that better than you know, the original or the Speaker's Corner. I really like a lot.
Right. Same mastering engineer.
Yeah, which is
what does that say to you?
It's really bizarre, but I think the Speaker's Corner is way better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think your point's real well taken. You really have to take it on a case by case. You can't be sort of label loyal or mastering engineer loyal or whatever, you know, or OG versus reissue, or, you know, and, you know, audiophile versus not, or whatever. You really have to go into it with, you know, just a blank slate and let the cards, you know, come up the way they come up, you know.
Right. I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. What do you think about no gloss on the jackets anymore? I had to bring it up.
Well,
you missed the high gloss jacket.
Well, this one, you know, the original, you know, the original isn't high gloss.
True.
You know, I don't know. For me, I know a lot of people, you know, the jacket's kind of a big deal. I don't know. For me, I'm sort of, it's all right for me. You know, it's all about the sound, and, you know, you don't play the jackets. You know, I'm kind of indifferent, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'm pretty picky about it. I was a little disappointed.
Yeah.
Well, the gloss can, you know, the fingerprinting, and there's certain, you know, there's pros and there's cons, right? It's how you sleeve them, how you handle them.
Try to photograph that Billie Holiday Body and Soul. It's all black. It's like all black, and you can't photograph it. It's impossible.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the NXS Kick, which I got yesterday morning, and it's pretty glossy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It is.
Yeah. So I don't know if they try to match the original somehow, or I'm not sure how they do it, but
maybe
they're back to glossy with this one. So
good.
yeah.
What about straight shooter?
It doesn't look too glossy. It looks kind of flat.
Okay.
It looks kind of flat. The NXS does look a little bit glossier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not super shiny, but it's glossier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. This was.
Yeah, I'll be doing a shootout on the interesting note here. I adjust VTA and can literally improve most pressings to sound very similar. Cutting head VTA style angles are not any better than a $4,000 cartridge. Wally Tracker is data on style mounting quality. Well, that's true. I mean, that is there's a lot of geometry going on if you didn't take any in school, guys. But yeah, alignments and compatibilities in that regard. Yeah, you can also do a lot of damage if you don't know what the hell you're doing. So just a note to the wise on that as well. But yeah, there is that aspect of everything. But what's funny is you seem to find a lot of these people are very consistent across the board in terms of their findings on these. After I did my review of this, I went back and looked at others, and pretty much I think across the board I've seen pretty strong praise. Now the Black Sabbath one that I'm working on, it seems to be what I've heard all over the place. I don't know. I haven't watched any of them, but yeah, let's see, Tony. I have not listened to the Bad Company yet. It just came, and I haven't listened to it. So, but I will be doing a shootout on it later this week. I do intend to. Yeah, well, yeah. The more you can adjust, the more there's pros and cons to it, right? Having the right equipment and having the right ability to do that is relevant as well. But it's great that, I mean, so everybody knows, we didn't know, Brad and I didn't know what Scott's outcome was before we went live. So Brad and I only did because we were together. Normally when we do these, we don't. So we try to make it surprising to us as well. So it's not like we get a forum together and go, okay, Scott, what's the matter with you? We liked it. You didn't, it's a matter of freedom of saying exactly what you think. And in this case, we all agreed.
I knew you guys were going to like it.
Yeah.
It's so stark.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's, I got to say, this is one that, I mean, done a lot of shootouts before, and this one was not even close.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Many times a remastering will be an improvement. It'll be subtle things, and preferences could go one way or another. This was not subtle.
Yeah,
it wasn't subtle.
Yeah,
no,
but it was tasteful.
Mm-hmm.
It was tastefully done.
Yeah,
brought out the musical message of the record. Just great.
So if you like this record, and it's one of your favorites, and if you want the best sounding one, we think that's definitely where you go. If you've got some of the other versions, I guess you can sell them or do what you want to do. I'm certainly going to let go of a few of mine. But it's some, I mean, my US one was like, I bought it when it came out. So there's some, it's kind of something I'll probably keep because of it being an original for me. But
there might be some emotional attachment to some of these.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, and I'm the same way with that UK plum. Like I got to keep it as sort of an artifact. It's the original. It's the plum is a cool thing. But there's fewer that are going to be going.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been happy that I have been holding on to contenders, even if they're not my top choice at one point in time.
Yeah.
Eventually the new reissue is going to come, and listening to them again, like this happened with the Billie Holiday, Body and Soul. I thought the mobile fidelity was kind of lesser than the other George Marino 45. And at the time I did that review, and listening to it today, my estimation rose on the MoFi. So I'm glad I don't make it, knee-jerk reaction and sell things. And as a result, I have too many records everywhere. Too many pressings.
I know. I have so many of this one in particular. It's like a sickness. I swear.
Yeah. Well, I will probably hold on to my US original, but no search for a UK for me.
Yeah. No, I think that's a savings. You know, and it's you got a new one and it's fresh and you know what the condition of it is. So
yeah, that's important to me.
Yeah.
Was yours numbered, by the way, Scott and Brad? Were yours numbered?
Yes.
Okay.
Mine is a early number 593.
Nice.
Let me see what mine is.
More curiosity than anything.
805.
805.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all of mine are 308. So
yeah, you subscribed.
Yeah.
Oh, you subscribe. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah.
So remind me which one comes out next. Is it November? I can't remember if it's Fragile or Close to the Edge. Do y'all remember?
I'd have to look at my AP release sheet.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Look real quick.
I know the Genesis has been put off a couple times. I'm really looking forward to those too.
Yeah, which one's got like Trick of the Tail or?
Oh, I'm really just dying to hear that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but Foxtrot and Nursery Crime will be coming too.
Yeah.
And then the later ones, which I'm not as interested in, but.
And see that there's a great MoFi, the Trick of the Tail. It's great.
Oh yeah, I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be using that. I wish I had done Wind and Weathering too. Could have used it.
I remember.
Fragile should be next.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Well, we'll do the same. We'll do the same thing, but I'll have to borrow a UK Plum because I don't have one.
Where did I get mine? Oh, I got mine from. I don't have it anymore. I sent it back to John, but I have access to one, so maybe I can get it for you. We'll see.
Yeah, I do too. I have one.
Yeah, so. David's got one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can share around.
Well, in that case, the Kevin Gray 2016 was pretty strong. I liked it.
Yeah. I have that one too. It's good.
It's Close to the Edge next. Well, if it is the numbering sequence implied that the Fragile was going to be next. So if they've swapped something, I'm not aware of it.
Close to the Edge, October 11th. Yeah.
So Close, he said, is October 11th.
Okay.
Listening to this with Kevin Gray and Chad.
Okay.
I have no doubt that Fragile is going to be just as good. I think so. I really do.
Yeah, the tough part with Close to the Edge is going to be having to split that first half, that first side.
Yeah. I'm not that familiar with it. Is there a good break?
There is.
There is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
there's a clean spot or two for doing it. Yeah.
Okay.
But it reminds me of 8-track days, right? Where the 8-tracks would fade out and then you have to wait for it to click. So it's
That's true.
I get that that feeling about that. I agree.
Do you think it'll have to be a fade out and a fade in, or is there a natural second?
No, there should. No, there. I think they can do a clean break.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they can do a clean break.
That's going to happen on Foxtrot too with Supper's Ready.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
but there's some spots where it can happen.
I don't know. I feel like on Close to the Edge, which by the way is my favorite of the three.
Oh yeah.
I think, if they do the job on that like they did with the Yes album, it's going to be worth it.
Right. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it'd be worth the inconvenience, I guess, so to speak, right?
Brad, which one would you say is the best recorded album in general of the three? Excuse me.
Wow.
I think Close to the Edge, and part of the reason is it's more contiguous.
Uh-huh.
You know, when they go in and do a song, there's some variability that can occur pretty easily.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it seems the most even keeled across the sound stage. And I did that one on our shootout, and I noticed that.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I think for me, I would agree. Fragile is recorded very well, though. I mean, when you think about it, it was a progression, right? Yes album, then Fragile, then Close to the Edge. And obviously they, you know, certainly with the popularity of Fragile, where they actually had a quote hit with Roundabout, they had more money, you know, probably more time, not getting as much pressure from the record company to, you know, maybe to do something. So it kind of gives you the thought that they, you know, they were able to record with better equipment, take more time, etc. So,
Right.
you know, I think there was a progression there. That's sort of my feeling.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah, I'm going to try and get a few more dates and figure out what some of these are, because it looks like a few have changed then. So I want to talk to Chad and see if I can get realigned on some of these dates, because it sounds like a few have changed on it.
Well, when you talk to Chad, say thank you from Scott.
I will. I've already given him my opinion of it, but I certainly will share this with him as well.
Yeah, tell him it's unanimous. And
yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you, this one, and 90125, by the way, the 75 was phenomenal.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
You know, those just make me all the more excited for the Fragile and the Close to the Edge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't heard 90215 or whatever. I haven't heard
the series. Go ahead, guys.
You didn't get that one, Scott?
I didn't get that one. I know the hit single, but that's about all I know from it. But my dealer associate friend Oz has it, so I probably will hear it at some point soon. Yeah.
Well, that just know that "Owner of the Lonely Heart" isn't the best song on the record. So.
Really? Wow.
No.
Okay.
No, it's not. I mean, it's good, but it's not the best. There's others that are better. So it's pretty engaging.
Yeah, try Leave It, Scott, when you do it.
Okay.
There's this vocal thing. It's super cool. I mean, it's it'll raise the hairs on your neck and stuff.
I see this note from Dean. Thanks, Dean, that you're keeping up. I was, and life got in the way of keeping up with everything, moving and all, but I got to get back on track. But I appreciate your helping out today and giving us some input on that.
Dean will be our resource there.
Yeah.
I got to get that Hall & Oates. That one I did not get, and
I've got it, and I didn't realize I had an OG. So.
Oh yeah, I did get it too. I haven't spent a lot of time with it yet.
Yeah, I didn't realize I had an OG of it. So definitely going to spend some time with this one.
I'll tell you though, the reason I got it, I used to have it, but I don't have it. Hadn't had it for a long time. But when I was at the Florida Audio Show, I went to the MBL after party, and they were playing tapes, 15 IPS tapes of popular songs. So like, Heart Magic Man, and they played Hall & Oates' She's Gone from this album. Not, the tape was from some other source, a master tape, I suppose, but oh my God, it was wonderful. Wonderful. So that's why I got it.
That's a great song. And
yeah.
These, like so many of these, there are good recordings in the first place,
yeah. That's supposedly one of their better ones, early ones.
Yeah.
Sound wise.
Yeah, kind of get into the 80s stuff. It kind of got sort of had that typical 80s sound,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this was before their RCA days. These were, the Atlantic days. So
yeah.
Then they
got that slicker sound.
They got MTV generation, right?
Yeah, still good songs though. I mean,
those are good songs too, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been buying those, so I can't say. There are plenty of groups in Facebook for SACDs, and so Usually leave it to them to comment on those.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say.
Yeah, the guy you turned me on to, David, Life and Surround. That's a really good channel if you like multi-channel type stuff. He pretty much gets everything and does really nice reviews. So just a shout out for, I don't know what his name is, but he does a great job if you're into that.
Yeah. I just watched one on the Doors greatest hits that he did.
I gotta watch. I haven't watched that.
And
one.
then I realized the one he liked most I already have, and the one I just bought he doesn't like as much. But oh well.
That makes you wish, man, if I'd have just waited.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
I know. I'm the same way. I got it too.
Yeah, so that's about the size of it. Well, any other commentary, gentlemen? If not,
how was your pressing quality
of
the S album?
I thought it was very good. Let me show my rating. Since you brought it up, I forgot about having done it, to tell you the truth.
I forgot to mention it, but mine was flawless. It was great.
Yeah, mine was
no problems at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's so I gave it a 9.5. Otherwise, I just because it,
yeah,
it's almost like you got to give them something, but
right. It's vinyl.
It was way up there.
Yeah.
Way up there.
If I was doing this in this methodology, I'd be exactly the same, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, and the thing I want to mention about this is because I've had people who will say, oh, well, for 1.5 points or 2 points, it's probably not worth it, whatever. I gave it a 10 because a 10 is the top number. But the truth of the matter is the delta is bigger than it looks like in here. It is. But I hate to go back and say something like, well, that was a 6, because it really isn't. It sounds really good. But until you have that comparison, you can't, so I got to say that, if I put the 10s in bold or whatever, but 10 plus, whatever you want to say, this was a lot. I don't give 10s very often, as you'll notice.
Yeah.
So I certainly don't give them out like candy.
Yeah.
Like a 12 is appropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's
So here's the question. Brad, did you listen to NXS Kick yet?
I have not yet. No, it's a good question, Dean. It's in my pile to listen to here.
Yeah. I've got a lot of shootouts. I've got 3 I'm in the midst of already. So and I haven't even cracked those 2 open yet. So I'll be doing a Boston one. I'll be doing a Hall & Oates, and I'll be doing the new Black Sabbath Rhino Hi-Fi.
Cool.
So yeah, so I've got those 3 in the works right now. So there we go.
You cooking too, Scott?
Huh?
You have some cooking too?
Yeah, I got some cooking. The new acoustic sounds Verve Jazz series of Johnny Hodges, Blues Aplenty. And what else? I have a couple from the Lost Recordings, an Ella Fitzgerald live album, and a classical one as well. The Hall & Oates is on the back burner. Yeah, there's a few. Just not enough time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's always the case.
Yeah.
Scott, are you getting those Pablos?
I haven't gotten one yet, but I probably will get one and try it out. I've heard the originals. They do sound wonderful. My friend Oz is a big fan of them, and he's played them for me on his equipment, and they do sound wonderful.
Well, I remember, was it last year, somebody was going on and on about that 88 Basie Street, the Count Basie one that's got 88. I can't remember the title.
88 Basie Street.
Yeah, and then like the price shot up immediately on Discogs for that, and that's one of the ones that's coming. So that might be interesting, an original versus this reissue.
Right.
Yeah.
Marcella had a comment there.
Lost recording, Maria.
Oh yeah. I reviewed that on my channel. Now, I'm not an opera aficionado, so I had a little difficulty in explaining it musically, but I did talk about the release, and I loved it. It was beautiful. What a great set.
Yeah. John Paul, was this a question about In Excess kick? I just wanted to, I wasn't sure. When it came in, we were talking about that, so I wondered if that was what you were asking.
I think he's talking about the Yes album.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I think so. And on the original, it was sort of a, not a tie, but it was sort of two in first place, the UK original and the 2023 Bernie Grumman, which is the one from the box set. You can't get it by itself. You have to get the box set with it's got 3 CDs and a Blu-ray in it. It's a real nice set, and now it's about $70 or so on Amazon. And by the way, the Fragile that's done exactly the same way just came out. So you get, Fragile, and I'm assuming it's a Bernie Grumman cut in a box, and then it's got 3 CDs and a Blu-ray with the Steven Wilson remixes in it, which is not the same as the one he did like in 2017, something like that. Apparently it's a new Atmos remix. So maybe the Life and Surround guy will do that. But those are, I mean, honestly, if you're a digital person and you like surround, these albums in surround that's a different experience, and it's very, very cool.
Great. There's our next 3, Dean says. So we've got to wait till August so we can get a breather in July, financially and otherwise.
Yeah.
Are there any from the series? Well, you're subscribed, but Brad, is there any from the series that you missed that you're thinking of picking up?
Yeah, that Hall & Oates for sure.
Yeah.
Really, other than that, I've pretty much gotten the ones that I really wanted. So, how about you?
Any standouts? I might get the Bad Company, the first one. I've always liked that album.
Yeah.
I don't think I need the Phil Collins one.
Yeah, those are very good. Those impressed me a great deal.
Yeah. I did hear Bad Company. I reviewed it. I heard it. My friend's pressing. It was great.
Yeah.
Way better than the original. Yeah.
Alice Cooper is incredible. I didn't do a shootout on it. I mean, I didn't record a shootout, but I did listen to it and compared it, and it was.
Yeah, Dean. Yeah, Dean. I've heard that from so many people. It's funny that it wasn't a record that I even bought in my youth, and I did like some Alice Cooper, but I missed that one for some reason, and I've only heard good things about it.
Yeah. How do you pronounce it? Wicked Exile's been talking about VTA, and that's it is relevant. I know that on more expensive turntables you can do that, but even the Audio-Technica LP120, that basic one that looks like a Techniques, the first version of that had VTA. When it became an LP120X, they took it out. So if you can find an original LP120, it has VTA on it to align it vertically. So, for those that don't spend tens of thousands or thousands, let's say, that's an opportunity there as well. Let's see. Genesis English blew me away. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's.
Oh, yeah.
What about that one? That one is, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to say about that.
Well, here's the issue. A mastering engineer, when it comes to vinyl, is to take into consideration things that are physically above and beyond, just raw what's done. I mean, we saw that with, I guess, Ludwig, right? I mean, he tried to amp it up, of course, a bit, and then you get the physical, conflict of that. I don't think that mastering engineers are trying so much to create a new recording, but I do think they have an art to what they do as well. that has to be in the mix. So, hello, Steve. How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, David. I mean, they have to master these records within the limitations of the medium. I mean, still, even today with better equipment, we all know we have better, you can track everything better and all that good stuff. But still, and I've heard them talk about it on, you know, like when Steve's interviewed people and others, you know, that they still have to tame some of these recordings some, because they, even with our top quality equipment, you still can't track it. You just can't.
Yeah. Well, there's that for sure. But I think maybe in the case of this Yes album, the original tape might be quite bright. And Bernie Grundman probably let it pass the way it is. Because I don't know if you noticed on Bernie's cut, there's a lot of tape. I mean, there's noticeable tape hiss.
Yeah.
That you don't hear in the others, which leads me to believe he left the top pretty much intact. So it is a bit brighter sounding probably on the original. And I think Chad probably prefers they not be quite as bright and tailor it a little bit. So I think that's what happened here. And I like the results myself. So I like when a mastering engineer can tailor things a bit so they sound more listenable. That's what they do.
Yeah. Well, there are, you know, there are things that are done that at times can be to excess one way or the other.
Yes.
And little calibration sometimes, as we said, you know, it's kind of like some of that can become very fatiguing, you know, and that becomes harsh. And I think the worst element of any recording is one you don't want to listen to because of that. The artist loses in that case.
Right.
Because no matter how good their material is, if it's causing you to wince, that probably isn't the outcome that they expected to have.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, and maybe that's the best compliment we can give this new one is you just want to keep listening to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you'll see my closing statement on my video, but I was like, even if you've been listening to this all your life, you'll probably be crying tears of joy when the record's finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll maybe it'll give you goosebumps in parts like it did me, and I think it did you, Scott, as well, on different parts. It's like, wow, it just sounds so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, the thing is, when you've listened to whatever you thought the best was, you know, then you go, oh my gosh, where did this come from? Where was this hiding? Kind of a thing. That's really the ultimate compliment towards the effort that was made. So,
yeah.
Kim likes to, master very close to how the master tape sounds. Well, that's good when the master tape is you know, of that sound quality and that care. I think that's, you know, what we would like to hear. I mean, wouldn't we all like to hear the master tapes and say, oh, what does it really sound like? Why did we always want original master recordings, right? We wanted, you know, and there they were throwing all kinds of EQ. You know,
that's true.
Are the tweeters on strike, David? Yeah, I said that in a video. Yeah,
I think there's something to be said. This goes way back to like Stan Ricker in the early MoFi. He said in interviews, I had to do certain things to please the client, and I think that's still a thing today. I mean, Kevin is working with Chad. Chad's the client, you know.
Absolutely.
And maybe Chad has final say. There may be someone at Rhino Fidelity that has final say. So I don't know if we're getting pure Kevin Gray all the time, but you know, there's no doubt he is one of the most talented mastering engineers working today.
Yeah, I thought I really enjoyed. I'm glad Steve's on. I enjoyed his interviews with Steve Hoffman and how complimentary Steve was of Kevin and his cutting, acumen, if you will, and his skill in the, in the studio is second to none. I thought that was really nice of him to say.
Yeah.
That was so, Steve, that was so entertaining. I love that, especially the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think Kevin's going to do a fresh hit at Fragile, from what I understand.
Yes, I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his equipment has changed since 2016, right? I mean, he continues to upgrade, and yeah, I agree. He's going to take another crack at it with his new equipment.
Well, he said this is a funny one. He said the recording engineer is the chef and the mastering engineer should be the maitre d'. So I guess the client tips the maitre d', I guess, would be the
yeah. Well, I guess that, I mean, we've given this AP75 Yes album lots of superlatives, but I guess the last thing I would say is, if you even remotely like this album and you want to get everything out of it you can get, this is the one to get, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I don't think there's any doubt.
I would agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna, I was thinking about that. Was Bellman doing Fragile? Something in the back of my mind was saying that to me, but I'm glad you said something, Dean, because I don't want to say anything unless I checked, but that I thought that was my recollection too. Now that I'm glad you clarified that for me too, because I thought I heard that.
Well, that'll make that even more interesting then.
Yeah.
Ways. Yeah. Because I don't think he's had a crack at that yet, at least not that I can remember. There's a Close to the Edge, Chris Bellman.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that there's a Fragile. So that I mean, and he's top notch too.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, I want to get my I got a hold of a Fleetwood Mac self-titled 2012 by Bellman on 33 RPM, and Brad's got it on 2x45, which I shot out with someone else's copy. So I want to see how much difference there is between the 33 and the 45 on that one.
Yeah,
because I wanted the 45 badly. Haven't been able to find it, so I grabbed the 33 while I saw it. I never saw it before. So
yeah, I didn't even know they did a 33 of it. I thought it was just.
I didn't either, honestly.
Was that a record store day that year too, or
I came out same time? That's all I can say.
The Fleetwood Mac 45.
Yeah, the first self-titled. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it sounds real. I haven't A-B'd it to my MoFi or the other one, but so yeah.
Well, one thing we didn't talk about too much was Steve Howe's bass playing. I mean, Chris Squire's bass playing in this and how it came across.
Mm-hmm.
I found it to be the most revealing of all the pressings. The earlier ones, like the US one, had a bit more transient speed, so you kind of heard everything like a little more defined. But on this new AP cut, it was so much more fun to listen to. It was deeper for sure.
You could follow it.
You could follow it easily, and you could hear the nuance in the different things he was doing. And I heard things that I didn't even realize he was doing on the AP. Yeah, exactly. Before it was just kind of a
it's there.
Notes. It wasn't the detail that I heard there. So that was something I forgot to mention. Yeah.
No, that's a great point, Scott, because that was the thing that we liked about the UK Plum. That was one of the big strengths was the bass. But the AP, the 45, it brings that same power, but it brings the nuance though also in the detail. And you hear how incredible of a bass player Chris Squire was. I mean, and the other thing that blows me away, how old were these guys when they recorded this album?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Young.
Like what? Early 20s, probably.
Early 20s. Yeah.
And you think about how accomplished musicians they were at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, just their, they must have spent a lot of time practicing to master their craft, or, it's part of it, I'm sure, is just pure God-given talent, or maybe it's a combination of both. But wow, really, when you think about it, Yes is a super group, really.
Oh yeah.
Did any of them have formal training?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I don't know either.
But there were, think about how many bass players were influenced by Chris Squire, how many guitar players by Steve Howe, how many drummers by Bill Bruford. I mean, it just goes on and on,
Yeah. There's no doubt about that. So Steve wants me to celebrate Canada Dry tomorrow. Since I'm Canadian, I appreciate you reminding me of that, Steve. So we had a couple of questions. KRWD asked about how hard would it be to make a direct copy of original master, particularly if it is highly regarded. Well, you first got to get your hands on one, the label giving it up, or the artist is, and then you got to have the right equipment, of course, to do that. So, you got to be in rarefied air in terms of both competence, capability, and trust, I would say, for that to be the case from what I've seen. And then Tim said, he likes Hoffman on Steve's show. I agree. He's just kind of seeing him in a different way. He used to, just be commenting a lot on things, of course, on the forums. So I definitely appreciate you bringing him on, Steve. And again, Fragile is TBD. And then Steve's got a comment that he'll be back in September or sooner. Thanks, Steve.
That's good to hear. I love those interviews too. I think he's such an interesting guy, and I love his recommendations too. It seems things you'd have never thought of,
Right.
You're gonna wait till Thursday to celebrate Independence Day, Steve. Yeah, well, that's true for us.
Yep.
Yeah, and one of us is getting a year older this week too, but I won't admit it. Wakeman definitely a fan.
Yeah. There's a pretty stark difference, between Tony Kaye, who was on Yes album, and then you go to Fragile when Wakeman came in. I mean, there's definitely a step up in skill, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, the AP gave Tony some good sound, at least. I'll say that.
Yes.
It did.
So,
it's interesting if you read. So one of the nice things, by the way, about that box set that the Bernie Grundman came in is there's a real nice liner notes in that, and they kind of talk about that transition. And Tony Kaye was mainly an organ guy, and that's why you get so much organ on this album. And when they were thinking about Fragile and they were wanting to kind of stretch more, they kind of figured out he's not necessarily up to the task there. And, Wakeman came in and it's like, okay, this is who we need right here,
Yeah.
Yeah. I was quite surprised how much I enjoyed the organ parts on this record, though.
Mm-hmm.
The sound, he had a different sound than Wakeman for sure, but I think the way they integrated the organ in these songs, I wish I could remember all the moments, but there are several striking moments where it's just integrated in a very tasteful way, and it often sounds like a church organ, And I love that about it.
It does. Yeah. It's like on Yours Is No Disgrace, when it starts and it's dun, 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 and then it starts in, the organ kind of brings the melody in.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is, a cool element,
Yeah. Transition. Yeah. It's really nice.
And actually the fade out of that song is a step down on the organ, right? I seen All Good People, and then it goes down, and then it goes down.
Yep.
Yeah. Very creative.
Well, the notes get up and they get down,
Well, that's close to the edge.
I know.
it's a mashup now.
Yeah, I've had that album ever since I did that shootout. I've had that album just playing in my brain constantly.
Well, it's a good one to
Brad,
get started.
before I forget, please send me an email with your return address so I can get your albums back to you.
Yes, sir. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to hold them too long.
No worries.
Yeah. Yeah. And if someone here had the Friday music of that, if you want to get in touch with me through my email, david@safeandsoundtexas.com, and want to lend it, we'll definitely put it into the mix and see what it's like. Just let me know. Add it to the list, because that's certainly, it was one we mentioned in the last shootout that we didn't have, and
Right.
you brought it up again, rightly so. So it would be interesting, but I mean, right now it's going to have to do some heavy lifting to beat the AP, I think.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We'll see. You know, it is what it is.
You just don't know.
So,
45
don't know what
versus
you don't know.
45. So it's it's kind of a more level playing field, I guess, from that standpoint.
Well, yeah, it never fails when you do one. There's always another. You know, there's always a what about this? But that's the case. My brain is always wrapped around a relayer. Okay. Yeah, and that relayer's one I think they're not doing, which I think was, I wish they would have done, actually.
It's a good
Now,
record.
they had a couple slots open. I got to find out if they've ever decided what they're going to do with that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, put it.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Tell Chad I put in my vote for Wind and Withering.
Wind and Withering. Okay.
By the way, I bought that, Scott, after your review, because that was one I just sort of ignored.
Yeah.
And
Which one did you get?
Just the original.
Okay.
Yeah, US original. I forget.
Not the remastered one.
Not the remastered one, no. Because I think you like the original, right?
Yeah.
So I went off your recommendation, and I like it a lot. It's very good.
It's very good. It's very close to Trick of the Tail in terms of quality.
Yeah, really good album.
I think it's a lot of music on the record, though. That's why it could really benefit from the 45.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Yeah. Okay. Put that vote in. So Jerry was our winner last time on our Yes album, and he put a note out earlier, and you're welcome for that. So the Boston Showdown, I've got a Japanese, I've got a CBS half speed, I've got a Wally.
The Kevin Gray.
Friday.
Kevin Gray. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The only one I don't have, and I do have a resource for it, is the MoFi, but I do have access to one. It's just a matter of timing, whether I'll get it in time or not. If I don't, I'll do the shootout and then do MoFi against the winner if that doesn't work out. So that's about what it is.
I'm really looking forward to that one. I mean, you
Just
think of top 5 debut albums ever, you got to.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I remember driving around town in my first car, probably blasting that.
Yeah.
It
was very impressionable. No doubt about it.
We all loved it. It.
Yeah. There were a lot of good first albums in the 70s. Really.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them,
Yeah. So, Van Halen 1. I mean, you got to put that in there.
Eagles self-titled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. People with animals hate fireworks. Yeah, I know. Well, Nick's an animal, so crazy money for. Yeah, you're right, Tim. It is crazy money for a used copy. That's why I'm borrowing one.
Oh, Duke. Yeah.
Duke
would be another great choice.
Yeah.
I must be some misunderstanding about getting that one done. I don't know.
I am looking forward to Abacab, honestly, though.
Yeah, just do them all. Well, I can tell you quite honestly that talking to Chad, his biggest surprise has been the desire for and the sales of Genesis, bar none. And that includes Phil Collins. He really was shocked. So
Okay.
there you go. It's a, you know, it's a pocket of, you know, of the 70s, I'd say, that, you know, certain taste, you know, in liking it. It's, you know, and then it became more popish, of course, but that early stuff, more thematic, you know, kind of things, I think was a little bit of not quite in his view. You know, I think it really caught him off guard.
That's good. Maybe money talks.
No, maybe about it with Chad.
Yeah, there ain't no maybe. So I got a question for you guys then. So if you could pick any album for him to do, let's say a UHQR, what would it be?
Oh,
I mean, No Holds Barred, Grail, what would it be?
Well,
mute math. Nobody knows what I'm talking about, but that's
I do.
I'm going to say, I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. And you may think, oh, this is kind of a lo-fi recording for a UHQR, but I would love to hear this on a UHQR. Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs.
I kind of thought you'd say that, Scott. I don't know.
I've mentioned it many times.
No, but it's a great record. I mean, really.
I don't know. I think it could really see some improvements with a really high quality mastering by a noted mastering engineer.
Yeah, that's one of those albums that I think there's a lot more than we've heard. I really do. I agree. Yeah. Do you have this one, Scott?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'm sending it to you.
What is it?
Passion.
I'd love to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
I saw it in the store and thought of you, so I grabbed it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your choice, David? Was it Mute Math?
No, I mean, Mute Math is really obscure. Boy, that's hard. You know, one of them, and I have some copies here to shoot out, but Band on the Run, it's just, that was one that I always thought could sound a lot better, to be honest.
It could. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Yeah.
Well, nobody will be surprised. I got to go with
Rush.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which one? Oh, okay.
Moving Pictures.
Moving Pictures.
Yeah.
And this is my current goat, which is the one, David, you got for me and when you were in Europe, the Netherlands imported audio series.
Mm.
But I still feel like it can be bettered. So I'd love to hear it on 45 and see what Kevin Gray or Chris Bellman or somebody could do with that.
Now that's a weird little story. So Brad told me exactly what he wanted. And I went in this store I go to in Örebro, Sweden. And I went in their higher end record section. And I looked in the third row over, which is the exact same row I found my Led Zeppelin 2 RL in.
For how much?
$40. VG Plus. And I found that darn RL of your record there that they had in that exact same spot. It was the strangest thing.
It's a gold mine. What can you say?
It was like deja vu all over again. Yeah.
Well, guys, I have to sign off. I'm sorry. I can't stay longer.
Thank you, though. I appreciate Scott so much, you taking the time. And Scott will be putting up a more detailed review of his view of it as well, of the S album. Brad, thanks so much for being part of this.
Oh, thank you. So fun. Really enjoyed
great fun
with you guys.
Yeah.
It is fun. Shout out to Chad and to Kevin one last time for the great work on this AP 2x45 of the S album.
Bravo.
It's well worth the $60 investment. So
yes,
every penny.
Yeah. All right, you all take care and have a great evening.
Thanks to everyone watching.
Take care, everybody. See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, everybody.